Ellie, and today I'm here to teach you lesson 4.8 of Algebra 2, the height or projectile formula. First of all, the height or projectile formula is here. H equals negative 16 t squared plus v sub 0 t plus h sub 0. Now you're probably wondering what those variables mean. Well, h is the height at a specific time, t is time itself, or the time an object spends in the air. V sub 0 is the initial velocity, or the speed and direction at which an object is first projected. And h sub 0 is the initial height, the height at which the object is first projected. I'll give you a moment to copy these down, or just let them sink in. Let's do an example. Here are two formulas you'll need. The height formula, h equals negative 16 t squared plus v sub 0 t plus h sub 0, and the quadratic formula, x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Here's the variables you'll give us. H equals 3 feet, t is what we're looking for, so it's t. V sub 0 is 20 feet per second, and h sub 0 is 4 feet. We start off by plugging each variable into the equation. So h, 3 feet, equals negative 16 t squared plus v sub 0, which is 20, t, plus h sub 0, which is 4. You need one side to be 0 for it to be in standard form, so you have to subtract 3 from both sides. So subtract 3, subtract 3, so you get 0 equals negative 16 t squared plus 20t plus 1, because 4 minus 3 is 1. Now you're ready to plug it into the quadratic formula because it's in standard form. When it's in standard form, a of the quadratic formula is the number before the greatest variable, so negative 16. b of the quadratic formula is the number next to the next greatest variable, so 20. And c of the quadratic formula is the number without a variable attached, 1. So plug these values into the quadratic formula, which is x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And t is what we're looking for, so t is x. So t equals negative 20 plus or minus 20 squared minus 4 times negative 16 times 1 all over 2 times negative 16. T, now you have to simplify. T equals negative 20 plus or minus the square root of 400, because 20 squared is 400, plus 64, because negative 4 times negative 16 is 64, times 1 is still 64. All over 2 times negative 16, which is negative 32. Continuing, you get t equals negative 20 plus or minus the square root of 400 plus 64, which is 464, all over negative 32. Then you have t equals negative 20 plus or minus the square root of 464, which is 21.5, all over negative 32. Since you have this symbol here, there are two possible equations, the plus or the minus. So one possible equation is t equals negative 20 plus 21.5 over negative 32, or t equals negative 20 minus 21.5 over negative 32. Let's start with this problem. You get t equals negative 20 plus 21.5, which is 1.5 over negative 32. T equals negative 0.04688. Since this is negative and time cannot be negative, that is not an answer. Let's try this equation. You get that t equals negative 20 minus 21.5 is negative 41.5 over negative 32. T equals 1.3 seconds. That is the possible answer and is the correct one. This means that an object projected from 4 feet at 20 feet per second took 1.3 seconds to get 3 feet. Let's try another example. This time it's a word problem. A soccer player heads a ball 8 feet in the air at 25 feet per second. How long does it take for the ball to reach the goalie's hands at 5 feet? Let's pull out the obvious variables first. The initial height is the height the player heads the ball at, 8 feet. The initial velocity is the force that the player heads the ball with, 25 feet per second. T is the time, which is what we're looking for. How long does it take for the ball to get to the goalie? So it remains a variable. The height is 5 because the ball, we're trying to find the time it takes for the ball to get to the goalie's hands, which is 5 feet. So you plug these variables into the equation. 5 equals negative 16t squared plus 25t plus 8. You want to be this in standard form so you can put it in the quadratic formula. So you need this side to equal 0. Subtract 5 from both sides. So you get 0 equals negative 16t squared plus 25t plus 3. This is now ready to go in the quadratic formula because it's in quadratic standard form, meaning that there's one variable that's squared, one variable that's not, and one number that doesn't have a variable. If you remember, the number next to the variable squared is a, the number next to the variable on its own is b, and the number without a variable is c. T is the number we're looking for, so it can also be represented by x. So t equals negative b, 25, plus or minus the square root of b squared, 25 squared, minus 4 times a, negative 16, times c, which is 3, all over 2 times a, negative 16. Continuing, you have t equals negative 25 plus or minus 25 squared, which is 625, plus 192, which is negative 4 times negative 16, 64, times 3 is 192, all over negative 32. Continuing with simplifying, t equals negative 25 plus or minus 625 plus 192, which is 817, all over negative 32. T equals negative 25 plus or minus the square root of 817, which is about 28.6, all over negative 32. Since we have the plus or minus sign, there are two possible equations. T equals negative 25 plus 28.6 over negative 32, or T equals negative 25 minus 28.6 over negative 32. Let's start with this equation. So, negative 25 plus 28.6 equals 3.6 over negative 32. T equals negative 0.1125. Since this is negative, and time cannot be negative, this is not the answer. Let's try this equation. T equals negative 25 minus 28.6, which is negative 53.6, all over negative 32. T equals 1.675 seconds. This is the correct answer. So, it took the player who headed a ball at 8 feet at 25 feet per second, it took the ball 1.675 seconds to reach the goalie's hand. Now that you've learned how to do height problems being given just variables and through a word problem, try this problem on your own. You can check your work with mine. If you got it right, great job! And if you didn't, it's okay. You can keep trying until you get it right. Practice makes perfect.